Hi guys, it's Ray here from City Fan TV. Saturday evening, just rolled past 9 p.m. Hope you guys are all doing well. We're here to talk for a short while about Manchester City, of course. That's what the channel's all about. Videos all about Man City, upcoming games. We're going to have some previews coming along the next few days for the Arsenal game as the football season restarts. We talk, obviously, finances on this channel, and fan interviews, expert interviews on finance as well, and transfer information, transfer rumours, what's going on. So, load of stuff that we discuss on this channel, and tonight it's going to be a whole load of different things. It's mostly transfer chat, transfer tittle tattle, let's call it. Transfer gossip. Hi, Chris. Hope you're well, mate. Off work. Fantastic. Put your feet up. We're going to talk about Houssem Aouar. Houssem Aouar. And picture he's put out on Instagram. Fueling the fire that he's Manchester City bound. But I'm not so sure. I'm not going to jump to conclusions just yet about Houssem Aouar. But we're going to talk about that. We have to talk about that. And then we'll talk a little bit about Felix Nmecha. And we'll talk a little bit about Torres, who's been also linked to Manchester City. Let's have a quick swig of coffee. And yeah, it'd be interesting to know, guys, whether you're interested or how interested you are, whether you're excited about football returning. I guess Chris Welch, as a Liverpool fan, I guess you're really excited. Blackpool Blu-ray, hi mate, hope you're well. Yeah, Chris, it's not good, is it? It's absolutely not good at all what's going on in the country. We're not going to go into too much, but it is a sorry, excuse me, it is a rather sorry state of affairs that we've landed ourselves in with the violence we've seen today. Pretty much one-sided. Very obviously, it's disappointing to see. It's disgusting to see as well. It really is. It really is terrible to see all that. And obviously, with the COVID-19 situation, we're still having, I don't know the numbers today. Was it 200 people died or reported in the last 24 hours? Obviously, some of them died a long while ago, some of them, but most of them would have died in the last 4 or 5 days. So I would expect that's what normally happens. So that is rather disappointing. So, you know, we've got the COVID-19 situation. We've got the thuggish violence we've seen today. And, you know, football. They're not football fans. Absolutely. It's disgusting, the scenes we've seen today. And, you know, there's always this politics brought into it. But let's be clear, last weekend, we had a lot of demonstrations. I suspect tens of thousands of people around the country. Yes, there was a small proportion of people causing trouble. Yes, there's absolutely no doubt about it. Last week, a small, very small proportion of people causing trouble with violence and whatever. But you'd see, when I was looking at a video today when the police were attacked last weekend, most people on the side were not involved. They were trying to get away. They were trying to hide and stay clear. And it was only, you know, as I said, a very small proportion of people got involved. This weekend, it's basically that it looked like, from the videos I've seen, obviously you can only go on the videos you've seen. I wasn't there. But I believe some of the reporters and their comments who were there, you know, they're not all liars. The vast majority of the people were there looking for trouble, looking for problems. You know, the people who went apparently into Hyde Park, I can't remember the numbers, was it 100, 150 people? You know, we've not got good intel yet, not good reporting as best we can on that. It's not as clear as anything, but it looked like a lot of people. I've seen one video. It's disgusting what these people were doing. Disgusting. It's wrong to attack the police. But it's one thing to attack the police, but it's another thing to go and spit in someone's face who's having a picnic and who's got nothing to do with anything that's going on. Excuse me. Very, very disgusted. Nazi salutes, disgusting. And there's no question there were some Nazi salutes out there. Disgusting. The racism. You heard that clear as day. And that wasn't on the doctored video. There was a doctored video going around where there was Chelsea fans saying we are racist and we like it. That was Chelsea fans on the train, on the metro in France when they played PSG a few years ago when we had problems there. So that was wrong. So put that aside. There was videos there with racist comments. The fella urinating on the memorial to PC Palmer. I was as disgusting as you can possibly get. So yeah, it was a vast majority, and obviously our politicians don't help. They've been stoking the fire in this last few days. It's from last weekend to this weekend. It's crazy, but you've seen the fire being stoked. You've seen. I'll do some. This is not meant to be political, but I'm just going to tell you what. You got Priti Patel, pretty vacant. Priti Patel talking about a small minority this weekend and a small minority last weekend. No. It was a vast majority this weekend. Okay, they weren't there to protest; they were there to fight. There's a huge difference from what was going on last weekend to this weekend. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about what you guys are saying, and then we'll talk about start off with Houssem Aouar. I realise people are going to come to this video want to know about Houssem Aouar. Arash via Dadwal. Yep, that's what we're going to talk about. The Houssem Aouar thing. Let's be a bit careful. It's not the police's fault, says Chris. Yeah, Arashi wants to know about Thiago Almada being interested in. I don't know about the truth in that. Papa Echo Delta is not happy. How's it going, Aaron? Hope you well? Yeah, Blackpool Blue, like a sci-fi movie. Look, we feel for the people who are decent and on. And I put out a tweet today, and I put many things out, but there are. I've always said the vast majority of people, I think, around the world are very, very similar in what they want out of life. What do I want out of life? I want my kids to grow up safely, securely, and to enjoy a good life. That's what I want for my kids. And I think most people would want the same. We are the same. I tweeted out pictures of one of my lad. I did a video of it with him as well, with one of his mates from France. And, they're like brothers. I mean, would treat that lad as if he was better than my own. I actually treat him better than my own kids. Yeah, taking them out to movies and stuff. And I remember my youngest lads. Anyway, his friends, they were like my kids in terms of the things you do for them. Where you take them to the movies and out to at the weekend. Actually, sometimes it was to help their parents or whoever their guardians were, because they're a handful, these kids, and you see embracing, because what we did, we surprised them that we were in London at the time, and they were coming over to visit this lad, and so we surprised him. We didn't tell him. I didn't tell my son that the other one would be there, and we surprised them. We met them in London, and they were. I mean, if you saw the tweet, they were hugging each other, arms around their shoulders, walking down the street, oblivious to everybody, and they were something like 7 or 8 years old, and children don't grow up to hate. It's taught. They're taught. And if you grow up in that environment, it's hard to get out of it. But you get out of it, you must, because most people are genuine. Right, let's go talking about Houssem Aouar. So you might have seen a picture of Houssem Aouar. He put it out on his Instagram a few hours ago of him apparently on a private jet, wearing a white T-shirt, and he's got a little B badge. He's wearing that. Now, some people have said, well, obviously that's linked to Manchester. Well, could be Man United. It doesn't have to be Man City. And some people say maybe Ben Mendy's given him a T-shirt or something like that. But it is, obviously, as football fans, we're going to put 2 and 2 together and make up 6, Houssem Aouar says he's on a private jet. Looks like he's got Manchester B on his T-shirt. It is a Manchester B on his T-shirt. It's only got 4 wings. So, is he coming to Manchester? Well, the thing is, the transfer window is not open yet, so maybe he's coming for talks or whatever. But the transfer window is not open yet, so why would he come to Manchester? He's not. He's certainly not coming for a medical. Is he coming over for a talk? Yeah, he might just like be there, and that might be right. But you know, people want to think there's something in it. Well, you know, a few days ago, I think Leon said basically, you know, he could go. You know, he could be for sale. And we know he's only 21 years old. He'll be 22 at the end of this month, on the 30th of June. He's a bit taller than me. He's 5'9", about 175. An attacking midfielder, playing at Lyon. He's been there for 4 years now. And we know when City played Lyon in the Champions League last season, Pep really liked him. Now, in terms of goals, what's he done? You know, he's got 16 goals in 97 games. So that's is basically 1 in every 6. I think you'd be happy with that overall. I think you'd be happy with something in that sort of return. So if he plays, let's say, 50 games in a season, he'd be, you know, you'd like to think he'd score about 8 or 10 goals. In City's team, you'd like to think he'd score more than 10 goals, to be honest. But he's still a kid, 22 in the summer. Okay, very, very young. Looking through some of his good bits, he was nominated for the Golden Boy Award in July 2018. Basically, the best youngster, I think, in the world. So it's even just getting that list, was it a list of 50? That's good going. That's, I think, very, very good going. Now, he's been linked especially to Juventus. Okay, and talking to a French Lyon fan a few weeks ago, or probably a couple of months ago, it was actually after the French league shut down, and they said, right, we're going to stop it here and now. We're not going to finish the season. And this French football fan, Lyon fan, said to me that, you know, there's a good chance he'll go to Juventus. But obviously, if Pep comes along, then there's going to be that interest in what Pep's going to do. And he knows, you know, everybody knows what Pep said about him. Pep's, you know, full of praise for him. He'll be another, I was going to say another Algerian, but look, he's played for the French under 17s and under 21s. He is of Algerian descent. I don't think he's played senior football for anybody yet, so he could end up. I think he could still play for Algeria. I thought he had. Anyway, I mean, it's not massively relevant. Let's be honest, guys. But he could. He's French of Algerian descent. I think that's the right way to look at it. But he's a very exciting player, very exciting attacking player. Many of you saw him last season, and it could be another one. Could be another one to the mix. We talked about Ismail Benissa. We talked about Houssem Aouar. Put 2 and 2 together, man, guys, and see what you come up with. Let's have a look what people say. Juventus have been heavily linked to Aouar. They really want to sign him, but I'm confident he'll choose Man City because of Pep. Juventus have about 20 midfielders. Well, I think the only thing with this is what's going to happen with the Champions League. Not the only thing, but I think that's going to be a major factor. What happens to City in the Champions League? Lyon won't be in Europe next season, as it stands. I think they might still go to court. And we've heard that Toulouse and forgot the other team have been given a reprieve for the time being by the French courts for being relegated. Lyon were talking about, well, you've not given us our chance to get into Europe, and maybe that'll end up in court as well. So it's a bit messy, but let's be honest, if Lyon do get into Europe, it'll only be in the Europa League. That's all they can really achieve. Juventus Champions League, City will be in the Champions League. That might be what ends up deciding where he goes. I feel Foden, Rodri, now that's a possibility. Right now, that doesn't look, and maybe in 2 or 3 years' time, that'll be a cracking midfield. Yeah, right now, that's a weak midfield for me. Absolutely, Aaron, might become great in a few years' time. Well, Chris, he's got the choice. He's played for the under-17s and under-19s. He has got that choice still, who he ends up playing for. Generally, the players end up playing who are of Algerian descent end up playing, I think, for France generally. But I think Mahrez plays for Algeria, so it's not always cut and dry. There's a lot of players in France of Algerian descent who could play for Algeria or France. I mean, Kylian Mbappe could have played for Algeria. I think he's 1/8 Algerian. Vidya, if I arrives, then that will have a good one. I don't think anybody will go. I think obviously because David Silva's going to go 1 in, 1 out. That's an easy way to look at it, and everybody has to fight for their place. Yeah, Chris. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but just sometimes it just depends. Like John Barnes. I mean, John Barnes came from Jamaica when he was what? Was he 12 years old? Because his father was posted here. His father went back to Jamaica when John was 17, and John stayed to play football. That was it. John stayed to play football. And when John stayed to play football, someone asked him, why didn't you play for Jamaica? Why did you play for England? You're Jamaican. He said, England asked me. It's as simple as that. It just depends who asks you sometimes. And sometimes it just depends where your heart lies. Hi, Adam. Hope you're well. Aaron says, KDB could play for England. Just happy for him to play for Man City, Aaron. That's the truth. Just happy for him to stick at Man City. So let's look at some other news, guys. Let's have a quick check on what else is out there. Pau Torres, okay? Now, that's something in the MEN. We've talked about Pau Torres briefly before. We are pretty sure that Pep wants a centre-back before a left-back or even a right-back. We've got Ben Mendy, got Alex Zinchenko. We've got Angelino, who was on loan at RB Leipzig, who might not take up the option. We've talked about Ben Chilwell in the last few days, but he's linked with Chelsea. Chelsea are linked with everybody. I mean, they're linked with Kai Havertz. They're linked with Ben Chilwell. They've already got Ziyech, and they've already got who's the other guy that I forgot. who they just signed. You guys will remember they were linked with they got Ziyech and they got somebody else who we talked about just a few days ago. It looks like they're getting Timo Werner. Adam, we've only just so far talked a little bit about what's been going on in London today, and we've talked about Houssem Aouar wearing a white t-shirt with a Manchester B badge, apparently on a private plane. So the talk is that he might be coming to Man City. Anyway, let's talk about Pau Torres then. So it's reported by ESPN that Villarreal central defender Pau Torres is an option for the heart of the defence. Okay, but they don't really say too much about it. So if you want to go and check about that, I mean, he's a fierce player. I don't know. Has anybody seen much about this fella? Has anybody seen much about Pau Torres? It's just one. It's just the thing is, it's always this. It's always the case in when we're in, even not in the transfer window. There's always talk about transfers, and any name can be mentioned, any name whatsoever. When you mention someone like might be City might still be interested in him, then sometimes you feel media outlets and journalists and papers, whatever, they're looking for anybody else that they think can fit the bill, even if they've got no link to City whatsoever. Now, Pau Torres, 23, still young enough, 23 and a half, very, very tall, 6'3", that's 1 meter, just over 1.90 m, playing for Villarreal. Well, to play for Malaga on loan for the season. Before that, he was at Villarreal. I mean, he's gone through the ranks from Villarreal C, played a game for them. Villarreal B, I think he did a couple of seasons, 59 games. Villarreal first team, he played a season, I think, for them, 26 games. And the loan to Malaga, 38 games. Is it 2 years he's been there? Or 18 months? So he was loaned to Malaga for a year, and that's it. Whilst they were in the second division, I just get that. But he missed 4 second division games during his spell, and they reached the promotion playoffs, and then he was recalled by his parent club. So it's a bit messy with him. So he's been back. So he's back at Villarreal now. So and he's played a game for Spain as well, just 1 appearance and a goal. As I said, I think lots of names are just going to be thrown out there. Some of the names are not going to be and they're just made up. I'm pretty sure of that. Muppet says Pau Torres is very aggressive from what he's seen. RSV Man City will definitely have the targets for the window. They maybe don't want to leak them because United will just try and steal them. Vidya says Bravo Stones, Cancelo, Gundogan are not training and likely to miss against Arsenal. That's interesting. I would not have picked any of them if it's my choice. I might have gone with Stones and Laporte, but personally, I prefer Garcia. I don't think he'll get the start. You might even get Fernandinho and Laporte starting. He's better in duels than Piqué and Ramos. You want that. Pau Torres left-footed. We need a right-footed player to partner Laporte. I mean, you could end up with Pau Torres as a cover for Laporte, let's say. And if you're good enough, you can play on either side. But I think Pep does like one left-footer, one right-footer. Ferran Torres as well as Pau Torres. Yeah, we link with absolutely loads. Can't be any worse than Otamendi or Fernandinho. I think Fernandinho's played really well at centre back. Remembering he's been paired with Otamendi and Stones, so that's hard enough. Vidya's Stones going to have been back. I've not, to be honest, Danny. I've not been checking who's On one hand, I'm interested in football coming back, and on the other hand, there's lots of other things that taken my attention, and mostly it's still looking after the family and this COVID-19 situation, and seeing what's going on in the world. And so I've not been paying too much attention, but I think that'll start to ramp up over the next few days. I've got, as I said yesterday, I've got a lot of interviews lined up, a lot of interviews. Been contacted again today by somebody else who I've worked with before, a very big platform, big YouTuber. So it looks like I've got, I think, 4 interviews, possibly in the next week. And then I'm not even looking at next weekend's games. I'm just looking up to the Arsenal game. I've not even started looking at the weekend's games. And then people just getting in touch. So on one hand, I'm interested. On one hand, I'm not. It's not like before where all your energy was into football. There's not a lot of my energy into football right now, if truth be told. But I'm still a little bit excited about the game coming back. Vijay says, I think we need Angelino back next season because we are light with Zinchenko and Mendy. I don't think you're light. When you've got 2 players, you can't be light. And if we've got Cancelo, he's played left back as well. I mean, Cancelo is only, and Laporte's played left back. You'd only use them as a real emergency. But remember, we had Zinchenko and Delph as our left backs for basically for almost 2 seasons. So when Mendy basically wasn't playing, so I don't think I don't think we need Angelino personally, Vidya. I think we only got Angelino back because it was a good deal financially and because we weren't sure about Mendy being fully fit. CDM, I don't think we need another CDM. I'd love to have Fernandinho back at CDM, Aaron. I'm not sure what Pep's going to do. I think Fernandinho is just going to be a utility player for us this season. I think he's just going to play a few games here and there. I'd like him to play more because I don't think Rodri's ready yet. But how else will Rodri get ready unless he plays games? Blackpool Blu-ray got all my season card money back for 2 season cards today. Set in my account for 2 hours before. I've not even checked my Blu-ray. I'm a few hundred like that. I think I kind of guessed it was about 300 quid because I've got my women's season card, women's team season card. It's not a lot on that. I think that was about 80 or 100, 80 quid this season. I got my men's, got my 2 lads. They've got their season cards. And we got the money we paid for the Real Madrid game as well. So we've got all that to come back. So just waiting on that for that. League 2 Newport Brentford without fans still 2021. Yeah, I think that's right, Chris. Someone asked me today whether I saw fans, us having fans next season. And I said, look, the government want things to be back to normal. So they'll try and do something to help, even if it's wrong. The Premier League want football fans back in some way, shape or form because it provides that atmosphere. And obviously the clubs want it because it's worth money. Now, there's a problem obviously with the social distancing. If they reduce it to 1 meter, then you can have a lot more fans in the ground. I don't think that's safe at all. I think what you could have is a small number of fans going. So, for instance, if your ground capacity is 50,000, they might say 5,000 can come in or 3,000 can come in or whatever. And they might focus more on the hospitality because that's where the big bucks are spent. If you're going if you've got, let's look at it, for instance, if you've got a box, one of the tunnel clubs, I think that's 10 grand off the top of my head. If that's costing you 10 grand for a box for a match, that's worth how many fans? If we're talking 50 quid a ticket, it's worth 2,000 fans. Sorry, 200 fans. Let's work it out. 200 times 50 quid a ticket. Bap. Yeah, I think that's it. 50. So you're looking at 200 fans at 50 quid to get you that 10 grand. So, if you can end up filling the boxes, then you don't need the fans. You don't need very many fans at all in the rest of the ground, because if you can only have 5,000, I think you just bump the prices of the boxes up, limit the numbers there, but you just bump that price up, and people will pay. That's a sad reality, and it's people with money will pay, and then you can have just a few fans in the ground. But that's a possibility that clubs will look at that for next season, having fewer fans paying more money. And it might just be that you're only allowed one fan per row. Don't know how you work this out. A couple of fans per row, something like that. So you're not going to, instead of having 20, you could only have, as I said, you might only have 3,000 to 5,000 fans in the ground. And how are they going to give you, let's look, if you've got 5,000 fans paying 50 quid a pop, it's £250,000 quid. So I can see why they do it. And then the rest of the money you'd get from hospitality. But, well, we'll see. But I don't think it's going to be safe enough to have fans at grounds. But I think the clubs want it, the Premier League wants it, and the government wants it in terms of getting it more normalised. Even if it's wrong, they all want it because it's money and normality and populism. People keep complaining that they don't want to sign a midfielder because it affects Foden. But absolutely, Ashfia. Foden, do you honestly think Foden's going to play 40 games next season? Do you think he's ready? I don't. I think he's ready for a lot of games, but certainly not 40. So, I'm quite happy for KDB. Let's say next season we play 60 games. I'm happy for KDB to play about 40, 45 games. And mix Bernardo, Foden, and another player. Yeah, mix 3 players. They've got, if KDB plays 45 out of 60 games, you've got 75 games between 3 players. And if Foden plays 20 games, 20 to 25, that means Bernardo Silva can play 30 to 35. And maybe a new player could do like Foden. Foden and a new player could play 20 games each, let's say, and Bernardo Silva can play 35. And then for the following season who your best 3 and go forward like that. Or your best 2, sorry. Chris says, I want fans when it's completely safe. I agree, mate. I accept behind closed doors for the rest of the season. Yeah, I don't think that anything's going to change. They might do it at the end of the season. They might, right at the end, let a few fans in. But it might be very, very, very restricted. It might be just to get some money. As I said, if you've got 10 boxes where you can charge 10 grand or 20 boxes, some of these clubs have that. You charge 10 grand per box, that's 200 grand. And what if you charge 20 grand per box because it's the last game of the season or whatever? It's Liverpool's, last game of the season. What if they charge 20 grand a box on 20 boxes? It's 400 grand, maybe 500,000 quid they can get out of this. And you can say it's chicken feed, but they're gonna look for ways to start making the money back. Vijay, I don't think Claudio Bravo will stay next season. His contract runs out and he'll be gone. You see New Zealand rugby today. Well, the Daleman, look, New Zealand's a different kettle of fish. New Zealand haven't had any cases. They're back to normality. Everything's back to normality apart from you can't travel in and out, and that's the thing. That's the thing. The Daleman, they're back to normal. They've not had any new cases for a month or 3 weeks, 4 weeks. The last person isolated for 21 days, and that was about more than 2 weeks ago. So in all intents and purposes, they're ready. They're ready for it. We certainly aren't ready for it. I don't know how many new cases we had reported today, but it'll be between, I suspect, if the last few weeks are anything to go back, it'll be between 1,500 and 2,000. You're not ready to go back with those numbers. Liverpool versus Atletico last game played, absolutely, mate. We watched that, didn't we, on Watch that on BT Sport. Watch that. And okay, let's finally talk about Felix Nmecha. It's not Lucas Nmecha. It's going to be Felix Nmecha. Just something I picked up in the MEN. Now, apparently, when Felix played in that Carabao Cup game against Oxford in September 2018, Pep said some nice words about him, apparently. But he didn't play. That's the funny thing. I'm reading what the MEN said, because I don't remember him playing there. But he talked about him. He said it'd been a night towards the future, pointing towards the future. Adrian Banabi played, Aaron Muric played. They made their debut. Phil Foden played a starring role. I think he scored a goal there. And afterwards, and the manager afterwards listed Eric Garcia and Nmecha, Felix Nmecha, as ones to watch. And he said it depends on them, but if they have quality in some moments, they can show us they can play. Okay. Now, Lucas Nmecha, he's on loan at, I think, Middlesbrough now. He went to Germany, and then I can't remember where he went now in Germany now. I forgot. But then he went. Lucas Nmecha must have been at Wolfsburg. He must have been at Wolfsburg, because I remember going to Wolfsburg and I wanted to invite him to. I was working at a science centre doing some shows in their theatre, and I wanted someone to come. But I think the problem was they were away when we, and it was. I think that was it. They were away playing in France against Saint Etienne in a Europa League game, and then it was international break, so I couldn't make that work. Yeah, so Felix, so that's Lucas is Felix's elder brother. And now looking at the notes, Felix was on the bench at the Champions League game in December in 2018. Made his senior debut in the cup win against Burton Albion a month later. It's pretty easy, Burton Albion, let's be honest, in the Carabao Cup semi-final. So let's have a look. Now, this is what the MEN are saying. Because of the coronavirus impact, it's impacted City's plans. Now, there's obviously the uncertainty with Pep and what he's going to be doing, and he's got to be preparing for the return of Premier League football since the middle of May. But if we have problems with delayed fixtures, changes to the laws of the game, we can have up to 9 substitutes on the bench instead of 7, and 5 substitutions per game. That's got to give some of the kids an opportunity. It's going to give them a wonderful opportunity. Let's say we're playing Arsenal, you're 3-0 up, you can bring 2 or 3 kids on after 70 minutes or something, and you can even bring a couple more in the last few minutes. No guarantees, but I think it's going to give everybody. I mean, all right, sadly the MEN have picked a very weak story to run with, but as I said, it's going to give other players, Cole Palmer, if Jaden Braff comes back, it's going to give a lot of other players an opportunity to get a few minutes. And as I said a few times now, if we can get second spot sewn up with about 4 or 5 games of the season to go, then I would love to see in every game 2 kids starting, whether it's Chella Howard-Bellis and Eric Garcia, whether it's Jaden Braff or Cole Palmer, whether it's Foden on a more regular basis, whether it's Tommy Doyle or anybody else that we want to look at. I think we've got to load of these kids and just give them the opportunity playing men's football against teams in the Premier League who want to win, who need to win to avoid relegation or secure a European slot. So if we can get that, we're 4 points clear of Leicester, got a game in hand. If we can beat Arsenal 7 points clear, it could be within 4 or 5 games we could have almost sewn up the second spot. And I want to bring a few kids in. I want them to have 2 or 3 games each, either starts or the last 10 minutes, something like that. But I will want each of those 5 or 6 kids to get 2 starts and 2 substitute appearances, something like that, in the last 4 or 5 games, if that's possible. As I said before, not too many games, because you want to keep your first team that are going to play in the FA Cup and the Champions League. You want to keep them fresh. You want to keep them in form and match fit. Arashvir says, apparently David Silva decided to go to Qatar. Well, there's rumours about that. There's rumours that, yes, he won't get a proper send-off. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. I think, obviously, he'll come back at some point for a testimonial. And that will be our chance to give him a send-off. Yeah, it's a bit late, Chris. Months after it. Vijay Shakya with KDB, Bernardo, Gundogan, Foden, Zinchenko, Doyle, and potentially Aouar. Live in Freedom says no future. We don't know. That's the thing, Vijay. You don't know. Hi, Brian. Hope you're well. You got to give the people a chance. And if Felix gets a couple of games, you never know. Yeah, if you come on and you light the place up, then you got a chance. But you've got to take your chance, and that's always the problem for the kids, unless they can see so much of them at training to know they've got the future. If you get the chance, you've got to take it. We saw it with Brahim Diaz. I love Brahim Diaz, okay? And he was trying too hard, but he still looked like he could do it to me. But he wasn't at the level. Absolutely, Blackpool. I think give him a chance. Obviously, he wasted his last 2 seasons. Last season, when he was number 2 to Edison, he was never going to get looking. And this season, he's not Nottingham Forest, and he started poorly, and he's been dropped. So he's not getting anything out of this season either. So I just think he needs that. He just needs a chance. You're right. And I think, even if you make him third choice keeper or second, do something with Aaron Muric. We won the domestic treble with Aaron Muric as our number 2 pretty much most of the season. You've got to remember that. So, but the worry is for me, it doesn't give Edison the pressure. It doesn't give him a challenge, which I think Zach Steffen is probably more appropriate to give him a challenge. What Aaron Muric needed this season, he needed to do something like Angus Gunn did when he was at Ipswich, wasn't it? No, at Norwich, sorry. He played so well that we got a sale on him, 15 million quid to Southampton. Now, we wanted, I think, possibly Aaron Muric to do really well at Forest. We could have flogged him off for 8 or 10 million quid. Or he might have been ready to come back and challenge Edison. But not playing, that's really, really hurt him. Just finishing off last couple of questions. Chris, we're going to be putting Liverpool. Yeah, Liverpool will put kids on the bench now, definitely. Thoughts on Jan Kucz's role at City next season and for the future? Arashvia? No role. The kid's going to turn 18 in the summer. Is it this month? Jan Kucz? But where's his work permit? That's always the issue with getting people from outside the EU, and it could get worse with what's going to happen. Obviously with Brexit and everything else. Now Jan Kucz is born. He's just turned 18. Sorry, he's on the 3rd of June. He was 18, so that was 10 days ago. So he's 18. But the problem with Jan Kucz is he's not going to get a work permit. If he played for Brazil, he'd get a work permit. I think he's not played for Brazil. He's not got that international experience. He's not got the cap, and you need that. I'm not sure about a lot of views, Chris. We've done well in the last couple of weeks in terms of new subscribers. We've done pretty well on the channel. So anyway, I'm going to knock it on the head. Please, guys, if you're new to the channel, it'd be lovely if you can subscribe. Let's try and bump it up to get to 2,000 subscribers. I will at some point put the Patreon details. I've sorted the account out. I just got to pop the details out there. And it's nice if you can contribute in a small way to the channel. It'd be very nice. But for right now, click on the like button, hit that bell icon so you're notified as soon as new videos. Please, it'd be fantastic to subscribe. Yeah, previews coming starting tomorrow. I'm going to be speaking to Sonny from. He's an Arsenal fan, so I'll be speaking on his channel. I think tomorrow night, and then he's going to reciprocate. He's going to come on my channel on Tuesday. Monday night, I'm speaking to Dan Potts and Lee Gunner. So you'll know Lee. Or Lee, not Lee Gunner, sorry, Lee Judges. So I'm going to speak to Lee Judges, and you'll know him from Arsenal Fan TV fame. So I'm going to get those two on. I'm speaking to them on Monday. So every day, and then I've got others lined up as well. So and then there's reviews as well. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. We'll see how we feel when footy comes back. But guys, please look after yourselves and take it easy and behave.